Good afternoon. This is Mr. Dwalu and the people. Welcome. If you're just joining the show, we come on every single Saturday at 7 p.m. to bring in some updates on the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund. It's to bring a message. Sometimes people have questions. We want to answer some of those questions. And it's to give you updates of what's transpiring with the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund. If you're just coming on, please help us share the show. Let invite a few friends here. We are also going live we're actually going live from our StreamYard and on YouTube, but we actually relaying the show also on Facebook as well. So if you're coming on board, please help us share the show. Let's discuss Liberia a little bit. Or appreciate if you can help us share the show. Welcome to the show. We are discussing the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund. I want you to join us. There will be some questions coming from you guys. We are willing to listen to your questions, and we are willing to make adjustments to make sure this happens. Over the last week, I've been away. I just got back last night, and I was just thinking, listen, I've been watching a lot of Facebook posts of my people and how we use Facebook. We are people who are not organized. We don't intend to follow anything to do until we're using Facebook, not in the ways that's going to elevate the country, but in a way that promotes things that are literally tearing down our communities. This is not the topic for this tonight, though. The topic tonight is Liberia needs a hug. Who's going to hug Liberia? I repeat, Liberia does need a hug. Our sons and daughters are scattered all across the globe. Who's going to hug Liberia? Who's going to be a part of this to say, listen, let's give Liberia a hug. If you're coming on board, I want you to help me share the show. I want you to just come in. Let's have a little sit down, a titty time, if you want to call it that, so we can have a discussion about Liberia, so we can find a way to truly give this country a hug. You know, as I watch Facebook sometimes, and I see my people, grown men and women, using the platform not to build something, not to change the conditions in the country, but literally to do something else. We say we can change that. Now, I want to be very clear here. I'm not criticizing what anybody does on Facebook. This is not my position. This is not my aim. But what I'm saying here is this. Can we use it better so we can improve the country? Can we make some adjustments to improve Liberia? Can we pull our resources to improve the country? You know, somebody tells me and say, listen, Mr. Dwala, you're wasting your time. Liberian people cannot do anything that is worth mentioning. We are too individualistic in a way where we focus on ourselves and we don't see the broader picture to say, listen, we have to do something that is far greater than ourselves. Sometimes and I don't want to believe that. I believe the singular reason why we have not done something that is far bigger than ourselves is simple. It's very simple. It's because we've never had the leadership that pushes that. Never. Can we find a way? Short of our tribal differences, short of our political affiliations, short of the person belongs to that and this person is that, but can we collaborate together and build something that is far greater than each of us? Can we do that? Is it possible at all to build something that is far greater than us? Or are we just going to be stuck in this one place where we've always pointing the finger at the next person, and yet and still we build nothing? We build absolutely nothing. Look, I've come to you and I'll give you an avenue. The likes of us, Fatima and myself, we are giving you an avenue. So listen, we have put together a fund. This fund is simple. You buy a share. Our goal is to get each person to buy 10 shares. You buy a share. We pull these resources. We formulate something. We come together with one fist, and we go to the country and try to effectuate some real change or industrialize the country, something that is happening all across the globe. I don't have to tell you about geopolitical happenings across the globe right now. You can see them yourselves. You can see what's happening to our country, what will eventually happen to the country when these Western countries continue to pull their resources from our country. Even though we're a rich country, but how we manage the resources is not helping the country. And when they pull their resources, the people that are much, much poorer than we are, they're going to suffer more. My question to you is, what are we doing to be able to mitigate some of this suffering that is possibly going to come on our people that will befall the Liberian population? What you and I are doing? What are we doing? To say, you know what, wrong? Let's do something. Let's do something that is going to get ahead of this before the suffering actually fall on our people. I look at Facebook and I look at my country and I see the vulnerability of the population, and I see that we are doing absolutely nothing to preempt this actual pain and suffering that will befall this country. And I just look at the country and I look at what's happening to the country and I look at how complicit we are. We are more focused on man costs and power costs than actually doing something that transforms what you. How is this okay? How is this okay? Look, the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund has one singular aim. It's to lift Liberia. It's to lift Liberia through industry. It's to lift Liberia through grit, through tenacity, through a focused and through organization so we can develop something in the country. And every time I come to people, they say, well, some people say, Mr. Dwalu, Liberian people cannot do anything good. Why do we resign to the fate of being incapable of achieving anything in the country? Why have we resigned to that fate? Why do we accept this? When everybody else around us is growing, they are expanding their economy, they're building new industries, they're developing their capital, they're connecting their counties, their regions with roads and rail lines. They're building small-scale manufacturing in their location, and all we do amongst ourselves is nothing good can come from Liberia. I don't know where we get this from. It's baffling, mind-boggling sometimes when I think about the way we think about us, that we are incapable of achieving anything. Incapable of attaining anything. They will say, oh, Mr. Dwalu, it doesn't matter. You go live. So no, you're not doing Mancos or podcast. You will get 7 people watching. Is this the society we've become? Why do we even go to church? Or why do we even go to the mosque? I know Ramadan is coming to an end. Why do we even go to the mosque? If the very Quran, the very Bible tells you should care about your fellow man, and all we do is we care about us individually, and we expect the society to grow. Look, I'm going to urge you, fellow Liberians, I'm going to say this to you. If we don't pull our resources and organize better, we remain in this condition, we remain in this position, that we are going to attain nothing in our lifetime, and we are going to leave Liberia as is. Is this acceptable with you? Do you accept this? That we would do nothing substantial to transform the country? The Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund aims to change the direction that we've been going for some time. If we here in America, in Australia, in Liberia can pull our resources, to be able to go to our country and develop some industry that can put thousands of men to work. Every Saturday at 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m., I will come here, I will sit here, and I will bring a message to you. And that message is very simple. It's to attain 4 basic tasks in Liberia. Simple. Number 1 is to make our shareholders money. It's to grow some businesses or industries in the country that will expand the Liberian economy and increase the government tax base so we can build more infrastructure and develop more public sector. This is the job we intend to do. Number 1 is to expand the Liberian economy so we can make our shareholders some money. Number 2 is to create massive amount of jobs across the country through industry, through ingenuity, through enterprise. Number 3 is to have some economic influence in the country so Liberians in the diaspora can organize better and have economic influence in Liberia. Number 4, look, let me tell you guys something. Number one, let me repeat this. Number one, to make our shareholders money. Number two is to create massive amount of jobs across the country. Number three is to have economic influence in the country. And number four, to make sure we have some controls in our country to expand the Liberian economy, to build the kind of institutions that are going to give us control in our country. You know, every single time when I hear that LU is putting out another 3,000 graduates, I laugh a little bit. And I look at my country and say, what are we doing? Graduates are going where? We are putting out substandard graduates. Let's get some expertise back to the country. That's number four, is to get some expertise back to the country. Number one is to make our shareholders money. Number two, expand and create thousands amount of jobs across the country. Number three is to have economic influence. And number four is to get Liberian expertise back to the country so we can improve the conditions on the ground. This is what we aim to do. This is the singular goal of the Liberian Diaspora Corporation. But this goal, this dream, this vision cannot happen if we do not pool our resources to develop our homeland. The government is going to be hurting. Our people are going to hurt the most. As for me, I will forget about the politics because I want to develop industries. Because I believe if 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 Liberians go to work across the country, we start expanding the Liberian economy, we will forget this little bickering that we are doing on so-called social media that is amounting to nothing. Superficial stuff that we are arguing about, grown men and women literally getting naked on the networks to make a point. Everybody thinks about himself. Let me tell you something about yourself. Singularly, I don't care how much you think you're successful. You will not go far if your society is stagnant. If it's stuck in one place, you're going nowhere. You live in Liberia, you can steal as much as you want from the government. You can do whatever you want, get ill-gotten loot. You stay in Liberia, it is almost nothing. You say, oh yeah, but I don't care. I can get my air conditioner. I get my late car. I eat 3 times a day. I don't care. Look outside your doors. Look outside your doors. If we don't expand our environment where we can really build a private sector in the country, and we start asking for more from our best and brightest to be able to expand the so-called looted money you have, we remain in one place. I give you 3 to 5 years. The money you stole will run out. You'll build a house that you cannot maintain, and that house will sit there and have mold grow all over it. I'm not just saying this. Look around you. Look at the previous government officials. The private sector is the truest way to go. Liberia needs a hug. If her sons and daughters in the diaspora do not hug Liberia, she will remain cold. Who's going to warm Liberia? Who's going to look to Liberia and say, you know what, Ron? This country does need its children. This country needs its children that are so-called educated children across the globe to come home, or at least minimally pull their resources to be able to come back to the country so we can build something. When are we going to pull our small money then together to go and build a massive fishing industry in Robert Sport or Hopper? When are we going to do that? When are we going to go to the southeastern portion of the country and breathe life into that location and connect that location back to the capital, to the rest of Liberia? When are we going to do that? Thousands of industry in that location that we can capitalize on. And to my own government, I'll say this to you. Mr. President, you know how I feel about the private sector in Liberia. We've spoken about this in length. To raise money, it costs money. I've written to the government repeatedly to help us with seed money so we can raise this money. In this country, it costs anywhere from 10 cents to 90 cents to raise $1. If you're a massive giant corporation, maybe it will cost you 10, 20 cents to raise $1. If you're nobody like we are, it could cost you as high as 90 cents to raise $1. Our aim here is to raise $25 million. Even with something as low as $3-4 million, we can raise that money. The government can become a partner in this venture, so we can put Liberian men and women to work, so we can create industries across our country, so we can build a private sector that we control, so we can harness Liberian expertise and allow the young men and women that are leaving our local universities to sharpen their skills, so we can get better teachers, better economists, better accountants, better engineers, better lawyers, and better construction workers, better plumbers, and better electricians, to be able to develop from within. This is the truest way. This is the time-tested way. Government is good. The private sector is best. Government is a regulatory industry. Regulate the private sector, but help us expand the private sector. Help us to grow the private sector. Liberian from across the globe, we will continue to appeal to you. You can go to our website, www.liberiandiasporaequityfund.com, or you can call me directly at 774-578-1963. The goal here is to raise $25 million. We have begun. You go on the website, you can see the live update, what we've raised, and what our target is. The goal is to continue to push and let Liberians know I'm asking you for something simple. It's to buy 10 shares so we can be able to pull our resources together. Go back to the country. Do you know how difficult it is when you take your money into an organized environment such as Liberia's, and you take your $20,000, $30,000 and you try to do business by yourself, where you know you are not permanently domiciled in the country, you're going to be leaving back and forth. Guess what happens? Every time you leave, the business falters. Eventually it crumbles, it dissolves because your presence is not there. The corporation will have permanent presence in the country. I, as the president and CEO of the Liberian Diaspora Corporation, I will be living in Liberia to run this operation. All my quota officers will be in Liberia, present in Liberia. We will run this operation permanently from Liberia. We will build a master headquarters in Liberia. For those of you in Liberia who have been reaching out, oh, Mr. Dwallo, when are you coming here? I'm intending to come over there this month, actually next month, April. If you want to buy a share, I will create a post. All of you who are interested in buying shares in Liberia, we will come to the country and we will try to register the business in Liberia to be able to come in and try to raise some money from that angle. So we will give you an opportunity. Keep your money, put in your information, we'll put it in, and then we'll print out your share certificates, and I will bring it to Liberia with me, and I will give it to you. After we receive your money, of course. We will set up an account in Liberia to make sure our brothers and sisters back home are part of this. But I will continue to say this to you, my dear people. What are we doing to change Liberia? I want to say this to my government as well. Honorable Bwaka, the government cannot do everything. The government does not have the resources to do everything, to lift the country. Our government does not have the capacity to hire more than 40,000 people, yes, including teachers. We don't have that kind of capacity. So if you see we are hiring 60, 70,000 people, it's because the government is trying to create jobs through government employment. This is a losing battle. No government has ever been able to sustain itself by just increasing the payroll. The way you increase the payroll is to expand the private sector. The private sector does have endless capacity to incorporate almost 2.8 million working age Liberians across the country and more. Yes, the private sector can put the working population of Liberia, which is approximately 2.8 million people, it can put all of them to work, every single one of them to work, with room to spare. We can put them to work. We can put those from Sierra Leone to work. We can put those from Guinea to work. I'm just giving an example, for example. What I'm trying to say, the private sector has an endless capacity to incorporate people when it comes to employment. This is the best way to do this. Government cannot do everything, but what the government can do is the government can help birth new industries through the private sector, and those industries can help the government to increase the government tax base. Those industries can expand the government tax base. Those industries can actually come up with new ideas to be able to develop the country from across the regions. This is how it has been done from time immemorial, from the dawn of mankind. This is how it's been done. It is time tested. It works. But you have to take advantage of the opportunities that is presented to the private sector for it to work. Liberian here in America, I've continued to speak to you guys. I'm fortunate to be a few Liberians in Tennessee this past week. Oh, Mr. Dwalu, thank you, thank you. Your thank you is good, and I appreciate your thank you. But your money to build Liberia is much, much better. Not for free. This is not a charity. Your money to be able to build industries in the country is far better. We must put our mouths where our money where our mouths have been. Every time you hear Liberia can never develop. The other country here, FEC, we can never do anything right. Whatever you do, Liberia remaining in this location. As far as I'm concerned, I will never do anything to Liberia. I'm never going back to Liberia. My kids are not in Liberia. I don't care about Liberia. You can say all of that all you want. But I have a belief that the possibility of my beloved Liberia is endless. We have just refused to capitalize on those possibilities. We've just refused to look at those possibilities and stretch them out so we can leave Liberia in a better position for our children. We have just refused to do that. I want you to open your eyes and see the possibilities of our homeland. I want you to join me through the Liberian Diaspora Corporation. Like I said, if you went to Eventbrite, we have our first in-person presentation on the 31st of May. A lot of people are not buying the tickets yet. The ticket's $100. Your food and everything is included in the $100. It's a catered operation. We rented a top quality hall because we intend to make sure this is a black tie event, and then let it be catered. So your $100 ticket fee, everything is included in that $100 ticket fee. The food is included. The money is not coming to me. It goes to the hall that is being rented to make sure you sit in the proper place. It's about the mindset. I want us to change our mindset about Liberia, that we too can rise to the occasion, that we can touch the heavens as well, that we can pull our resources, that we can find our best and brightest minds to be able to come to our country so we can grow some industry, so we can come and take Liberian professionals, so we can take the younger kids from Tubman University and Cottington University and say, listen, come here, young accountant, come and sharpen your skills here through the corporation. Come and become a CPA. Expand your operation. We can take a young Liberian engineer and we expand the way he thinks and the way he does engineering to build better buildings and better roads and better infrastructure. Through the corporation, this can be done to expand our economy, to take our young plumbers out of the VTC, and bring them from BWI and say, listen, young man, you're an electrician, you're a tile layer, you're a plumber, come over here and perfect your skill through the corporation, to one of our branches. This is the dream of the corporation. But this dream would die if we do not put our hands around it. Liberia does need a hug. Liberia desperately needs a hug from her sons and daughters. But what we've done, we have turned our backs on Liberia because we say, you know what, Ron? It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you say. Nothing changes in Liberia. That is not true. That is so not true. Do you think what the Rwandans have done, what the Ghanaians are doing, what's been done in Singapore and South Korea? Don't take my word, go to their history and take a look at their history. Do you think that cannot be replicated in Liberia through organization and proper leadership? I have no doubt, none whatsoever, that we too can rise to the occasion. We too can rise to the occasion. It don't necessarily have to be through government. And yes, I do know government is extremely important, but the private sector can force the government to organize better. The private sector can force the government to regulate better. The private sector can strengthen our courts. It can strengthen our police force. The private sector can strengthen our army. It can make sure we pick better ministers in government. The private sector can improve our high schools through new methods, through pushing new ideas, through telling our people in Riverside County that you are not forgotten. The private sector can breathe new life into our country, but it's going to take collaborative effort. I will continue to come to you, Liberians, and say to you, we must pool our resources. We are intending to raise $25 million. We have begun. We are around 40,000 right now. We have begun. We have begun. And we need you to join us. We are asking you to join us. Liberia will not grow if our sons and daughters turn their backs on Liberia. This country is not going to grow, so we desperately need you to come back to Liberia. I'm not talking physically. We will go physically. I will go in your stead. And I will say to my people back home that we have not forgotten you. We think about you every day. We dream about you every day. We pray for you every day. And we understand the desperate condition under which you live. And we believe we can change this if we pull our resources. The Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund is more than capable of doing this. But we cannot do this if you do not join us. I'm asking you to purchase a minimum of 10 shares. If you can afford more shares, please do so. We have issued the first 275,000 shares. The goal is to raise this money, and I desperately need you to join me. Let's raise this money together. Let's look to our heritage. Let's take something back home into Zwedru, into Vonjima, into Sanikwale, into Ba, into Robertsport, into Tottenham, into Bapaloo City, into Foya, into Greenville and Lexington, into Barclayville, into my beloved sister. Let's take something home. Let's say to our people, we hear your prayers. God does not answer prayers by descending the heavens. He answers prayer through your brothers and sisters. Can we become prayer answerers to our people? We here in the diaspora, let me repeat, can we become prayer answerers? Can we go back to Liberia with industry that employ 10,000 people? Can we do that? Yes, I believe we can. Can we go back into Kakata and build a massive wheelbarrow and shovel factory that put 300-400 men to work and become prayer answerers for our republic? Can we have an imam pray to Allah? And our prayer is answered through you who are currently in Maryland or in Philadelphia. Say, listen, an imam prayed in Kidman County, and he prepared for his people to get jobs, and we go into Kidman, and we start a massive fishing industry. We have become prayer answerers. My intention is not to preach, is to tell you that our country is dying. Our country will die if we do nothing. Now, somebody will tell me, so, but Mr. Dwalu, Labro Oreo, Labro, I'm bad. I'll respond to you in this fashion. Have you seen the life of modernity? Have you seen consistent, clean running water that you don't have to think about? Do you understand that it is possible for the lights not to go off? Do you know it is possible for a bus to stop in front of your house and pick up your son safely, to make sure every car around there is stopped, to make sure little Coluba gets on that bus safely, to make sure Siku enters that bus without being harmed? Do you know it is possible that Siku can go to school up in Balanceville, and Siku goes to the classroom? Before he goes to class, he eats breakfast. He goes to a classroom that is fully air-conditioned. The teacher is well trained. He has all his books, and you can expand Siku's mind far better than we are today. And Siku now becomes an engineer, a graduate from the University of Liberia, and Siku is building new bridges that elevate our republic. Do you know this is possible? Do you know that we have to put a lot of resources into my little brother Fofi Fofana to make sure he can change our country? Do you know it takes great Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Do you know that government can do the same thing? Do you know this? Do you know, Darlington and Mommy Girl? Do you understand the possibility that we can expand our society? But in order to do this, we must pay a price. And this price must be paid by all of us. We're quiet. When it comes to the issue of elevating Liberia, when it's time to work, we're quiet. We do nothing to elevate the country. You see, little boy mine, he's not going to school. Sata and Sia is sitting home. They are not going to school. It's making our country more dangerous, whether you recognize this or not. The Liberian Diaspora Corporation has a mission. And our mission is to elevate our society to do great. But I need you to join me to raise this money. We must raise this $25 million. Hell or high water. This must be raised. And I will continue to appeal to my government to help us receive money. Let's raise this money. Let's raise this money. If it costs us to refund the government after we raise the money, we can also be committed to that. But it takes money to raise money. Let's make sure Kali and Kalu get a proper education. Let's make sure little Buama and Trokon and Bayuga and Game get a proper education than we did. They can grow up in a proper environment, that they are not killed early by malaria, that we can change the condition of our country and force our government to stand by the Constitution that they've sworn oath to, that they will serve the Republic, that they will uplift our population, that they will take us from the dungeons of despair, that they will make Liberia whole, that we can lift our heads and be pride game of our nation and say, listen, our beloved land of liberty that has been blessed by Jehovah God himself. I'm going to ask you to join me. Visit our website, www.liberiandiasporaequityfund.com, all one word. Visit the website. Buy a share. If you cannot afford 10 shares, you can buy 5 shares. But our target is to make sure each person purchases 10 shares. That's $1,000. This is not going to a charity. This is a for-profit opportunity to be able to expand Liberian industry so we can grow our environment, so we can begin true development, so we can begin the industrialization process of our republic, so we can increase the government tax base so they can build more infrastructure, so we can put our men and women to work. Remember, the Liberian Diaspora Corporation has 4 simple objectives. 4 simple objectives. Primarily is to make our shareholders money. Primarily, that's our primary objective. Make our shareholders money. Secondarily, is to create massive amount of jobs across the country so Liberian men and women can go to work. Tertiarily, is to make sure we have some economic influence in the country to redirect and reorient the conditions of our country through economics. And on the 4th level, to get Liberian expertise back to the country so we can begin true development. This is the aim of the corporation. Like I said, every Saturday, I will come here and I will say to you, we must come together as one people. We must raise this money so we can begin true development in the country. Like I said, we're having our first in-person event here in the state of Massachusetts. It will be held right outside of Lowell, Massachusetts. It's on the 31st of May. And I'm going to ask you to go to Eventbrite or call the number. There's a number on the site. Call the number. Call me directly. The number is 774-578-1963. Reserve your seat. Take a seat. It's a black tie event. Bring the wife. Bring the girlfriend. Bring whoever you want to bring. And come, let's talk about the evolution of Liberia. Come, let's strategize together. Come, let's have a discussion about how we can transform this country. We would not go anywhere if we don't put our hands together to elevate this country. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Ansu Opa Dwalu, and I'm broadcasting here from the great state of Massachusetts. As always, it was such a pleasure, and thank you for joining me.